In this video and the next video, we are going to be going over the API inside of ExcelDraw, and I'm going to be teaching you how you can use it and create custom VBA code in order to manipulate and actually use ExcelDraw just through code. I know that I've previously pointed this out before, but whenever you first install ExcelDraw, you're going to be greeted with these two options on your desktop. The first is DXF Reader GT, which is our application that we use to open up DXF documents inside of ExcelDraw, and the second option is the ExcelDraw add-in. To access the API, you first need to hold Shift if you're using Windows 11, and right click on the add-in. If you're using Windows 10 or any other version of Windows previous to 11, you do not have to hold Shift whenever you right click. Next, go to Open File Location. Inside of this new window, you're going to see all of the files associated with ExcelDraw, and the folder that's in this file is the API. If you open this up, depending on how many versions of ExcelDraw that you have installed, you're going to see multiple versions of the API. But you want to look at the version that is the highest number on it. So in this case, it's version 6.2.44. The GTED VBA automation is the API for ExcelDraw, and that is what we're going to be looking at today. If you want some examples, which we will be covering in the next video, it is in the example API function. If you would like to reach that folder organically, it is actually located inside of the installation folder wherever you installed ExcelDraw. By default, it is in the C drive, Program Files 86, ExcelDraw version 6, and then API. We need to make sure that ExcelDraw is installed, so you have to run the ExcelDraw add-in, enable macro, go to the ExcelDraw tab, and then go over to the About, and in the About there is Install/Uninstall. Click that, and you will see a window that comes up that says that it's either been actively installed or uninstalled, depending on if it's previously been installed or not. The API has to have ExcelDraw actively installed on the machine, otherwise it's not going to be able to read it. If it is just opened, it is opened as a read-only file and it cannot access any of the macros that are contained inside of it. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the API, and I'm going to be stepping you through what the different functions do. In the next video, we're going to be covering the automations and things like that that you can use the API for to make custom VBA. Now, the first step in using the API, you obviously need to open up the Visual Basic editor inside of Excel. If you don't know what this is, you can open it up by hitting Alt and F11 and it'll come right up for you. However, if you also don't know what this is, I would suggest that you look up how to do VBA code. Just a very simple basic introduction lesson into VBA code will be all that you need. You want to go up to the VBA project that you're currently on, which is going to be the name of the workbook itself, and it's currently book 1 because we haven't really saved it yet. And you're going to right click up here and you're going to go to Import File. You are then going to navigate to the API folder, which we previously showed how to get there, and you're going to want to include the GTED VBA automation and the version that has the highest number on it. That's going to be the latest API available. If you would like to also include the example API, you can, but the only thing we're going to be looking at right now is going to be the automation or API itself. So we're going to click on this and hit open. You're going to see a new folder, says modules, and you can see it's right here. If we double click on that, you can now see that we have an outline of everything that's available on there, as well as if we scroll down, we have our declarations, and then we have all of our general functions. So the API is there so you can create an object, which we have available here, with the options available for all the other objects that we typically have. For instance, if you want to create whatever the object is, rectangle, rounded rectangle, line, every object type is available for you to create. The range is going to be whatever the range of the values are, so X, Y, and Z. If it is Z enabled, if it is a relative or absolute, and then finally the layer number. So the layer number is available to you in VBA coding. So if you want to use the API to create lots of different objects and have custom layers, and you can just create those on the fly, you can do that inside of the API itself. Next is the graph generation. So after you create something, you'll want to generate the graph. It allows you to generate graphs. It allows you to create defaults, so the default settings inside of Excel Draw with zooming, rotations, pannings, structure, colors, all those things that come pre-installed by default with the default settings. You can generate defaults again if you ever want to go back to a regular or vanilla install. You can also refresh all the settings. So let's say that you do some custom changes with zoomings and zooms, rotations, things like that, and you'd like to update all the settings and save them, you can do that with this code. Next is setting the rotation. So if you want to set it to a specific rotation or degree, you can do that with X, Y, and Z values and rotation. You can set the pan as well and the custom zoom option too. You can also change your graph location, so you can change it to wherever you want it to be at on your Excel document, or you don't even have to show it at all. We also have a breakdown for you here of the objects and each one of the XYZ values associated with that object. For instance, the text object, we have XYZ, which is defined by the starting location, then X2 is going to be your text, Y2 is the custom text size, which is optional, and Z2 is the custom text ACI color, which is also optional. From this point down, this is the code, and we actually have a few more that are here that I did not specify above, but it is going to be in the examples. For instance, the cells to CAD, which is the new option inside of version 6.2, which will allow you to create a data table and convert that into a CAD style drawing. You can gather data from rotations, so you don't necessarily just set the rotation, but you can also gather the data from the rotations. You can also do the same thing with get pan, so pan X and Y, and get zoom. If you'd like to get an ACI color, an AutoCAD color index value for an RGB color, you can do that with this function here. You can also do that inside of the Excel block itself just by typing in equals get ACI color index. And if you select that, you can then specify whatever your RGB colors are. So RGB of 23, 34, 45 will return a ACI color of 250. Same thing with RGB color. And you can set the layer color as well and the layer objects. Inside of Excel Draw, you need to specify which object has what color, and then from there you can specify what layer has that object's color. If you want to show a ground layer, you can toggle that on or off, show axis arms. You can set the rotations as I previously mentioned, and you can generate graph. You can set the origins with the API. So wherever the center of the graph is going to be, you can set that origin. You can also set it to auto if you need to. You can also change if you want to have the default coloring option where it colors by object, or if you would like to have it color by layer. If you would like to export a file with a macro, you can actually set this up to export to a specific location with a specific export name with a specific export type. You can also specify if you'd like to overwrite it or not. So you can automate all of your exporting of DXF files as well. And that is the overview of the API and what it can do. In the next video, I'm going to be showing you custom VBA code, and I'm going to be teaching you how you can use this API to pretty much do anything that you want in automated inside of Excel Draw just using VBA. Thank you all very much. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know.